Motherhood is also impacted by disability, whether it is the mother or child suffering from the disability. Prenatal testing is often driven by misconceptions that it is better for children with disabilities to be aborted than to live a life of misery and pain where parents will forever be burdened by the child. Because disability is often unknown, parents turn to doctors' testimonials when they get test results that are positive for disabilities, and doctors often say that it is an unhappy existence, thinking of only the medical issues and not the overall happiness of the child. Ash then compares prenatal testing to if doctors in inner city clinics warned parents that children raised in these circumstances are more likely to live in poverty, be exposed to drugs, get incarcerated, have poor education, and experience unemployment. Who's to say that a deaf or mobility impaired child wouldn't live a happy life while an able bodied child would? Mothers with disabilities are often shown as being incapable of raising their child or being homemakers, making many people with disabilities question whether they can start a family. Some mothers have even had their kids taken away in custody battles, provoking even more fear around the concept of motherhood. There have often been issues with forced sterilization of people with disabilities as social Darwinism became popular in the 19th century, and eugenic principles were used to eliminate unfit offspring from the population. Between 1907 and 1970, more than 60,000 people with disabilities were sterilized forcibly due to 33 state laws. Although this is no longer legal, prisons and ICE detention centers to this day have been found to force sterilization upon people, making fear of forced sterilization a very real fear for people with disabilities in these circumstances. These reproductive issues are very much intertwined with disability or the perception of disability, and ignoring these aspects hurts a lot of women who suffer from these issues. Another aspect of how disability intersects with gender and sexualities is its relation to self-worth and relationships with others. Since desirability politics say that attractive women are feminine, young, slim, non-disabled, and typically white, women with disabilities often feel unattractive and abnormal. This is often internalized and results in women with disabilities feeling as though they are not enough to deserve a partner. One woman writes, "I did feel less sexually attractive because I was surrounded by metal and wheels and had no control over my body, bladder, and bowels. I needed help with absolutely everything, and I couldn't see how any man could find me sexually attractive." Consistent with this, one study looked at how women with disabilities view themselves, and participants were asked if they could think of anything good about their bodies. No participant was able to name anything positive about their body, showing the effects that growing up with a disability can cause, especially in females who experience more scrutiny over bodily appearances. Participants also focused on the importance of having a non-disabled partner to be more closely considered normal again, showing the role that society plays in shaping the lives of women with disabilities. In terms of sexuality, women with disabilities are either seen as completely asexual or are treated with infantilism and fetishism. This can be ascribed to the lack of sex education given about disabled bodies, which makes it seem like disabled bodies don't have sex, and fetishism can occur because of the lack of power people with disabilities can have. And some people can have an inability to say no, which makes them easier targets. The book Sex and Disability describes the aspect of disability on sex, saying, "Disability has the potential to transform sex, creating confusion about what and who is sexy and sexualizable, what counts as sex, and what desire is. People with disabilities that need assistance from others may feel confused about their sexuality since their body is not perceived as their own, and they may be unable to experiment with sex and relationships like able-bodied people can." This is especially true for women that live with their parents, as parents of people with disabilities are often more overprotective and tend to not register their child as a sexual being. Women with disabilities also encounter issues performing certain sexual acts since they have different needs and may not be able to lie in certain positions or move certain parts of their bodies. And knowledge about alternative positions is really not talked about. When women with disabilities do enter relationships, the people they attract can be harmful and abusive, since men perceive women with disabilities as weaker and easier to control than the more powerful, able-bodied women. In this way, sexual abuse is far more common for women with disabilities as a result of a societal failure to see people with disabilities as being sexual and the power dynamics that can come from having limited control over their own body. Since women with disabilities are not seen as having sexual relationships, SA is often justified by the notion that the rapist wanted to give her something that no one else could give, which is very, very unfortunate. Many women with disabilities have had their SA reports go ignored because police did not believe that they could be SA'd. This compounded with women's reliance on others for assistance or money when they have disabilities can make it harder for women with disabilities to leave abusive relationships, leading to more violence and harm. If they do find that someone is nice and respectful, women with disabilities encounter comments that can deteriorate their self-worth. For example, one woman stated that when she goes out with her partner, she is told how wonderful he is and how lucky she is to have him, which implies that he is wonderful because he is with an undesirable woman. She notes that no one ever mentions how lucky he is to have her, showing that these comments really do come from a place of bias. In some, disability can lead to women having deflated self-worth, issue finding partners with correct motives, and others' inability to see people with disabilities as being equal to their spouses.